Okay, hey everybody, how you doing? Teching and Barry back again, and let me just start off this video by wishing a very happy birthday to anybody who was born on March 16th, because that happens to be today's date, and it's the date I decided to film this video. Nothing against anybody else whose birthday is on another day, and I guess you could be watching this on a day later on, and it could be your birthday, in which case, happy birthday to you too, I guess. But I came up with the idea for this video yesterday, and we're filming it today. Could have just as easily filmed it next month when my birthday is, April 24th. In fact, I even thought about waiting until April 24th to film this video, but I'm like, I don't want to wait that long. I could have filmed this in July, could have been October, whatever, but I'm doing it on March 16th, so happy birthday if you happen to be born on March 16th. I don't have a birthday cake next to me on standby. Oh, I do have this giant bag of miscellaneous candy. I would give some to you if I could just, I don't think that'll work, but, giant bag of miscellaneous candy. Okay, so, birthday video. All right. So what's going on with this? Well, this is going to be kind of the spiritual successor to the One Piece Isekai series, okay? So last year, I did a 3-part series on the channel, One Piece Isekai. And the premise was you get isekai'd into the One Piece world, and every episode I sort of added to it. Like the first episode was like you roll a dice and you determine, where you're going to end up, in one of the 4 blues or in the Grand Line. And then in the second episode, I added this like 100, this list of 100 items where you can end up getting in the world when you go there. You rolled a D100 and you got some random items. Some of the items were really good, some of them were really bad. And then in the third episode, I think I introduced the concept of the goal. So you have like a certain goal you need to complete when you get into the One Piece world, and if you finish that goal, then you return to our world. So it was a fun little game. I also did a 4th part where I read your adventures that people would write, because that's always really cool. It basically became a writing project, and it's not what I originally intended it to be, but it turned into that, and it was fantastic. So if anybody wants to read some good One Piece Isekai fan fiction, I'll leave it up here in the description. I don't know if I made it into a playlist, but I'll make it into a playlist after this. Go check out the first season of One Piece Isekai, and just reading the comments, there's some people that came up with some really clever stories involving what they would do in the One Piece world. So that went over very well, and a lot of people were always asking me, like, hey, you should do another episode of One Piece Isekai. And I'm like, I don't have any new ideas for it right now. I could just keep adding reference tables to the end of time, but I'm like, I'm pretty happy with the 3 parts that it ended up being. But if I ever come up with any other ideas, then I'll do another isekai. Well, here we are. Yesterday, I came up with another idea, and it actually involves the birthday calendar, all right? So I should explain this for a moment. I think most people that are fans of One Piece for any sort of amount of time probably know about this, but I'll bring it up anyway. So there exists a One Piece birthday calendar. It is an official calendar that was, I think, published originally in one of the data books. The origins of it are way back at the beginning of One Piece. And you know what? Because One Piece has persevered for almost a quarter of a century, it'll be 25 years in July. And I actually want to make a video about that then for the anniversary of One Piece. 25 years, can you believe it? But because of that, it's not just the main story that makes One Piece great. Obviously, that's the main draw. But there's all these little side things that Oda does with the SBS, the question corners, the data books, Vivara cards, the One Piece magazine, and all the stuff included in there. And of course, the fans as well. It makes it this one big giant community, all right? And so way back, I think in the first few editions of the SBS, when Oda just started doing the question corners, people would ask him, like, hey, what are the birthdays of the Straw Hats? Like, what's Luffy's birthday? What's Zoro's birthday? Nami's birthday? I know Zoro's is November 11th because Shimosuke, he was born under the Frost Moon in November. So Oda, for a while, would just tell them, like, oh, these are their birthdays or whatever. And so those questions went on for a little while. And eventually the questions, they changed from asking Oda the birthdays of characters to recommending dates for their birthdays. Like, hey, Oda-sensei, I think Ace's birthday should be January 1st because he's number 1. He's Ace. And Daz Bones should also be January 1st because he's number 1, right? He's Mr. 1. And so Oda never turned them down. He was always just kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever, fine, okay. And he would just, like, make them canon, okay? So if you go back and read the SBSs for years and years and years, they were always just like, hey, Oda, I have an idea for this character's birthday because it's a pun on their name, and Oda loves puns, and he was always like, yeah, sure, fine, that's their birthday now. And he's like, woo! And so eventually, after years and years, Oda just decided, you know what? whatever you want a character's birthday to be, fine, it's their birthday. And the calendar was initially published in Japanese in the data book, and it had all the characters on there, and the characters were added to it over the years, okay? And now I'm happy to say, as the calendar currently exists as of now, March 2022, every single day has a One Piece character. So it doesn't matter what day you were born, even if you were born on Leap Day, which is only celebrated once every 4 years, which that has to really suck if you were born on February 29th, because you can only actually celebrate your real birthday once every 4 years. But even that day has a One Piece character. It's actually Panda Man and Panda Woman, which makes sense because Panda Man and Panda Woman, they don't really exist in reality, so to speak. They kind of phase in and out of reality. So it makes sense that their birthday would be on Leap Day, right? Okay, so it doesn't matter what day you were born, every single day there is a corresponding One Piece character that was born on that day, at least one of them. Now, some of them, granted, are more background characters than others. For example, if you were born on March 9th, you share your birthday with Shanks, Mihawk, and Frankie. However, if you were born on March 21st, you share a birthday with Lieutenant Spacey, who was one of the automatons that went to the moon with Eneru, or the automaton that Eneru found on the moon. Remember that? So they're not all going to be Goldie Rogers and Monkey D. Luffy's and Mihawks and whatever, but you share your birthday with at least one One Piece character, and that's where the idea for this Isekai series came into being. And I also have to give a huge thank you to Library of Ohara Artor, because, yeah, there was a published version of this magazine. However, it was in Japanese, and the quality of it wasn't that great, and I don't really have the original source that it's from, like the data book. However, Artor on the Library of Ohara, and I'll leave a link to his website below, actually had a digital version, high-quality version of the entire calendar, where you have all 12 months and every single day, and he puts every single character on the days. It's really nice. It's easy to read. I'll leave a link down there below, and I'll throw up the calendar itself. And I also have to give him another thanks on top of that initial thanks, because when I looked up this calendar yesterday to make this video today, it had not been updated in like 3 years. The last time it was updated was in 2019, and there were a lot of characters from Wano, like the Tobiropo and the All-Stars and the Scabbards, that were not on the calendar yet. And I was like, okay, well, that's not that big of a deal. It's a little bit out of date, but not a big issue, you know. He's the only person, Artor's the only person that made this calendar on the internet that I could find, like a good quality version of it. So I'm like, you know what, it's okay. So I messaged him like, hey man, can I use this calendar in my video? And he's like, yeah, sure man, okay. And then he comes back to me a few hours later and he's like, oh, by the way, I updated it for you because it's been a while. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. So way to go above and beyond there. But yeah, I'm just gonna throw up right here the calendar. So we have, and you could just pause it to see which character you're born on the same day as in One Piece. We have January, we have February, we have March, we have April, we have May, we have June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, that was a little weird. That was just me rattling off the months of the year. Like, hey guys, have you heard? It goes January, then February, then March. You know? It was a little weird, but whatever. And once again, if you want a better quality image of the calendar and be able to, like, zoom into it, go check out the link below. Okay, so the idea for this season of Isekai, and I might add to this one, just like I did with the last one, if I come up with new ideas, and you guys give me ideas all the time, to implement and make the Isekai series a little better. But the idea that I had in mind here is that the One Piece character that you share a birthday with is going to be kind of the main character along with you in this setup, okay? We're basically going to be doing kind of the same thing we did with the original Isekai, which is, let's be honest here, it's self-insert fan fiction. But hey, we all love self-insert fan fiction, all right? It's cool to think, like, oh, what would happen if I was in the One Piece universe? What would happen if I was in the Fairy Tail universe? Well, in the Fairy Tail universe, all you have to do is believe in your friends, and you can conquer the world by dinner time, whatever. But, you know, it's cool to think of yourself in these worlds, all right? So the idea here is that find the One Piece character you share a birthday with, and a lot of the days have more than one character. I know, for example, like, well, right here, March 10th, there's Satori, Hotori, Kotori, Sentomaru, and Nola. So if there's more than one character born on the day, you can either pick all of them, I guess, to, you know, have this story to include all of them, or just one of them. I kind of had it in mind with just picking one of them, all right? And you're gonna, like, come up with a story with you being isekai'd into the One Piece world involving that character. Like, how would you meet that character? Would you go on a crazy adventure with that character? Would that character be your ally or would be your enemy? Would you want them to be your ally? Well, maybe you would prefer them to be your enemy or something. Like, yeah, it's going to be like, who's a really horrible person in the One Piece world? Don Krieg. I would not want to be Don Krieg's ally. If I was born on the same day as Don Krieg, I'm not going to pal around with Don Krieg. I'll make it my mission to be like, all right, I got isekai to the One Piece world. It's time to bring down Don Krieg. Okay? So stuff like that, all right? So for this one, I'm basically going to pick the character that was born on March 16th, because that's the day I'm filming this, and I'm also going to pick the character that shares my birthday, April 24th, and I'll just try to give you an idea of the stories that I would come up with off the top of my head, and you can go down in the comments section and, you know, type out your own story. It doesn't have to be an elaborate story. It doesn't have to be, you know, paragraphs long or whatever. It could just be like, hey, I ended up with Shanks, and I'm just going to go drinking with him. End of story. Cool. Shanks and me, we just meet on his ship. I just get isekai'd onto the Red Force. Shanks is already wicked drunk. They've been pre-gaming all day. And it's like, oh, hey, man, this guy just fell out of the sky. Hey, did you know they're making a movie about you? You don't say. Here's some grog. And then you just end up getting drunk on the Red Force, and that's your story. That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking forward to, okay? So, today, March 16th, there's only one character on the calendar that was born today, and that is going to be Tom. Once again, I did not plan this or anything. Actually, yesterday when I came up with the idea for this, before Artor updated the calendar, and you should be glad that he did, because there were actually 3 days on the calendar that had no One Piece characters at all. And they were actually March 15th, which was weird that it was yesterday, okay? That's actually Who's Who's birthday now, which March 15th is the Ides of March, and that's very fitting for Who's Who if you know that character's backstory. September 27th did not have anyone. It is currently Mr. Nine, which, you know, Mr. Nine's not the greatest character in One Piece, but at least you have somebody, right? Okay. And so Mr. Nine was revealed years ago, obviously, but we did not find out about his birthday until, like, the recent Viva cards. And then the last day was, what was the last day? December 23rd. And that's actually Hiyori's birthday, okay? So every single day, doesn't matter what it is, shares a One Piece character, okay? So March 16th, though, that's Tom. And an isekai story involving Tom and Water 7. Dude, that's actually awesome for me, because Franky is my favorite One Piece character. So I would love to be isekai'd, and you can pick whatever time frame you want. You don't have to end up, like, in the present storyline, like in the first season of Isekai, because obviously Tom is dead. So if I got isekai'd into the present storyline, like, woo, I'm gonna go have an adventure with Tom, and I just end up at Tom's grave, and it's just like, oh, that's dark. So no, I'm gonna pick the time frame, not when he gets, like, executed or gets carried away by the sea train. I would probably pick the time frame when they're still working on the sea train. Okay, so Tom and Iceberg and Franky is there, Kokoro, Yokozuna, and everybody's working on the sea train in Water 7, and Tom's workers are very highly respected in the city. And I guess if I get isekai'd in the One Piece world, I just get isekai'd on Scrap Island, try not to, like, accidentally land on a pile of rusty nails or whatever. Maybe Franky's working on one of his Battle Frankies, like Battle Franky number 23 or whatever, and he's like, time to test out my new Battle Franky, and I just land right on top of it. And he's like, what are you doing? It's just like, sorry, I just got warped into your dimension. You know, holy crap, you're Franky. And he's like, yeah, well, no, my name's Cuddy Flam, but, you know, okay. And then I get introduced to Tom, and I guess in this version of reality, Tekking becomes a carpenter, which would actually be very handy, you know, now that I actually own a house. It's like, wow, yeah, being able to build stuff and, like, modify things, like, that would be useful. That would be a useful skill set to learn. So yeah, I'm actually okay with that. I have a hammer, you know, whatever, all right? So I get isekai'd with my hammer, and I'm like, okay. And so we go meet Tom, and Tom's there, and he's just like, ah, you appeared out of the sky with a dawn, it seems. And he's like, yeah. And so then I start working under his wing, and I learn the skills of a carpenter, the tools of the trade, and everything like that. I'll probably stub my thumbs a lot throughout the process of this, but hey, that's what you do when you're a carpenter, I guess, in a shipwright. I'll learn a little bit about engineering. I will make sure that the Puffing Tom has its own, like like refreshment car or something like that. Like we're looking at the blueprints of the Puffing Tom, and I'm like, Tom, this is a great setup you have here, man. I really love the idea, but you know what would really, you know, make it perfect is a refreshment car, maybe an ice cream car, maybe a bakery on board. I will make sure the Puffing Tom, it's the exact same train, except it has a bakery car, which would make the Water 7 arc way better, you know, in that little mini arc between Water 7 and Enies Lobby when they're taking the Puffing Tom, and Usopp and Frankie and Sanji are fighting through the cars and everything like that. They just end up in a bakery car all of a sudden, you know. They're just like, all right, well, Sanji beats Wanze, and he opens up the next car, and it's just like, oh, a bakery car, you know. The person that made this, the person that designed this, they have good taste. And so Sanji can refuel. He can grab a croissant, or he can grab a baguette, or he could grab some kind of maybe a cupcake or something to, you know, energize him for the fights ahead or something like that. You know that scene where Sanji, you know, used that spinning attack to hit Blueno, and it did not break Blueno's tech eye, but it came very, very, very close to it. Blueno was just like, oh, that almost broke through my tech eye. Such a powerful kick. I'm telling you, if Sanji just had a little bit more sugar in his system, if there was a bakery car on the Puffing Tom, and he could have, you know, a nice, you know, creme brulee or whatever, and he could eat that, he would have enough power, he would have enough of the energy to kick straight through Blueno's tech eye, and maybe even take on Lucci, all right? That bakery car idea is the deciding factor for the Straw Hats defeating the CP9 right then and there. I'm just saying, okay? So, yeah, I mean, that'd be really cool. And I'd be on the island when Tom is about to be executed. Could there be a way I could prevent the execution? This would be tough, because Frankie would have already built so many of the Battle Frankies, and I don't think Frankie would take my word for it. Like, hey, Frankie, you got to dismantle all of these Battle Frankies immediately. I don't think Frankie would be okay with that, right? He's like, dismantle them? That's not what shipwrights do. And he's like, all right, that's not a good idea. But I could at least tell them, I could just straight up tell them what happens. You know, I'm hanging out with them and stuff. I'm learning how carpentry works, and I'm just like, oh, by the way, Tom, there's this dude, spawned him, total asshole. But anyway, he's going to come to this island in a couple of years, and you're basically going to die. And so I don't know how Tom would respond to that. Would Tom be like, well, do I go out with a Dawn? He's like, well, yeah, you definitely go out with a Dawn. And he's like, yes. Oh, and Frankie, you become a cyborg. And he's like, I'm a cyborg? You know, that would be kind of funny. I actually did a video not too long ago about this. What if Frankie ended up joining Roger's crew? So there was a little bit of a what if scenario there. So I guess just go watch that video for more details there. But yeah, if there was any way that I could feasibly prevent Tom's death, I would try to, but also knowing if I save Tom, that would also make it so Cutty Flam would not become Frankie. He would not become a cyborg, and he would not join the Straw Hats. So I might have to keep this a secret. Which is horrible. It's like, oh, I know that all of them are gonna, I know that Tom is gonna die. I know Frankie's gonna get hit by a train. Oh, God, this is awful. But if that doesn't happen, then he won't join the Straw Hats, and we need Frankie to join the Straw Hats. So it's like, yeah, everything turns out great, Tom. Just keep on doing what you're doing, buddy. Yeah, with a Dawn, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, so where are the blueprints for that Puffing Tom now? We're gonna work on that today. I didn't know that would happen, man. I had no idea that was gonna go down. Just like, okay. But yeah, so something like that. There's a story where I work on the Puffing Tom and develop a bakery cart for it. There you go. Okay. So anyway, yeah, that was Tom. That was the character that was born on March 16th. But now I want to do another story involving the character that was born on my birthday, April 24th. And I don't even need to look it up because I already knew who the person was. And it's Stussy. It's Stussy, the sexy leader of the Pleasure District that was part of the underworld, but was actually a top secret agent for Cypher Pool Zero this entire time. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do that. We can work with Stussy. All right. So I'm not even lying. This story is basically Tekking joins Cypher Pool Zero at the end of the day. Now, this is going to go actually in a very typical isekai fashion. All right, let me paint the picture here on how this works, okay? So we have Stussy, who's working undercover as a member of Cypher Pol Zero, and let's say she's breaking in to some sort of like top secret facility, maybe some kingdom's mansion or something or whatever. She's a secret agent. That's what she does, okay? So she's gonna like sneak in, kind of like Catwoman if you saw the Batman. By the way, go see the Batman. It's 3 hours long, but it goes by fast. You do not feel like tired in the movie theater like, oh my god, this movie's just slogging on forever. No, very good movie. Robert Pattinson does a great job in the lead role. You got Catwoman there. You got Commissioner Gordon. It's a detective story. It's awesome, so go check it out. Absolutely. But anyway, getting back to the story. Okay, so Stussy's in some sort of top secret location. She sneaks in. She finds the safe behind a giant portrait or whatever, right? And she's like, there's the safe. I'm gonna crack the safe and steal some stuff, okay? And so then at that last moment, in typical isekai fashion, I come flying out of the sky, crash through the window, and just like, oh no, I've been isekai'd into another world. And then Stussy's like, she's like, you know, carefully, crash, and then it's like, ah, and then the door breaks open and the guards rush in and they're just like, what are you doing in here? And they just start like opening fire on both of us, and I'm just like, holy crap, we gotta get out of here. And so we have this really epic escape scene. There's high octane action music playing in the background where Stussy's like, who are you? Why are you here? You ruined my whole operation. Now I'm going to get, you know, we're getting shot at right now. It's like, no, it's okay, it's fine. I'm from another dimension. And we have awkward banter back and forth, and we have this really epic, cool escape scene. Maybe Stussy pulls out a grenade or something and throws it behind her, and it, like the hallway blows up, and we jump out of a window, and we land in a speedboat, and we just sail away. That's the series of events that I see going down exactly. Not that just like I break. Like, let's be honest here. If this actually went down the way that I'm thinking, I would crash through the window. I would have glass shards in my face. I'd immediately hit the ground bleeding, and then Stussy would escape while the guards rush in and just think I'm the one that broke in. And then I would immediately be, you know, detained or killed. So, like, let's just, okay, there's a little bit, this is my story here, okay? You guys can have whatever story you want. I'm doing this, okay? So, all right? So me and Stussy escape, and it's just like, what are you doing? Who are you? You know, and it's this very kind of like, you know, oh no, I'm this, I'm the main character, so you can't get rid of me, but there's this little banter back and forth, like, you know, well, I guess I just couldn't let you die or whatever, like, sure. And then it's like, we find out about each other, and she tells me, you know, she's a member of Cypher Pol Zero, whatever, and I'm like, well, I already know that, and I'm just like, hey, I have some valuable information, because I basically know everything that's going on in this universe right now, so, haha. And so, yeah, it basically ends up with me, becoming Stussy's partner in Cypher Pol Zero, and we go on a bunch of really cool top secret spy missions together. I can learn the Rokushiki techniques. I can pal around with Lucci and everybody. Maybe I can get a cool mask to put on my face. You know, I can't do anything about my height. I'm only 5'5.5", but still, I could be, you know, whatever. Maybe I could be the masked CP0 agent that goes up against Kaido and Luffy. Okay, maybe not that, but maybe I could do something else, right? Okay? So yeah, Secret Agent Cypher Pol Zero teching. And the twist is I'm actually a secret agent in the secret agency, because I'm actually going to work undercover to bring down Cypher Pol Zero. I'm actually going to be working with Dragon the entire time behind the scenes. And at the end of it, it's me and Stussy managed to get away because she'll turn over a new leaf as well. And everybody else will be decimated. Oh, maybe Kaku. We can bring Kaku along too. Kaku's pretty cool. I like Fukuro. Actually, a lot of the Cypher Pol 9 agents, if they want to double cross them as well, maybe I can present the opportunity. You know, it's like, hey guys, we're all Cypher Pol Zero and everything like that, and that's really cool, but I have an idea. If we work together with Dragon, and we lead this revolution, and we work together with him, and we bring down the Tenryubito, then we could go do whatever we want. We're not going to be tethered to the world government anymore, and all their crappy rules. You know, did you hear what happened to Fred and Wano? They ordered him to go break up a fight between Luffy and Kaido, and the dude died. And we don't want to do that anymore. And so it's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So I'm going to get all of Cypher Pol Zero on my side, and we're all going to work with Dragon, and we're going to bring down the Tenryubito. There you go. For your Oscar Emmy consideration, Tekking 101 joined Cypher Pol Zero alongside Stussy. Absolutely, right. oh, we could go on some undercover missions in like the underworld of One Piece and stuff. That would be interesting. Yeah, I get to wear cool shades. Yeah, I can't see any way that this could end up going south. Yeah, this is going perfect. But anyway, yeah. So those are two stories. One involving Tom, born on March 16th, and one involving Stussy, born on April 24th. And we actually don't know Stussy's age is actually classified as top secret. Although it's mentioned that she's a lot older than she appears to be. She appears to be like in her like late 20s and her 30s or whatever. But I think the idea is that she's actually a lot older than that. But even her age is like top secret classified information, right? But so yeah, you know, write some stories down below. We'll see where this goes, and then I might do a sequel to this. I might add some stuff to it, some reference tables, maybe some more random factors involved here. I guess we'll see. Oh, we also have frog facts to get to, so let's just lead into that.
Decking. Frog facts. Frog facts. Frog facts. Frog facts.
So, because we're talking about birthdays today, I decided to look up what the oldest frog is in the entire world, or the species that's the most long-lived, okay? And I found it pretty quickly. It's actually called the Maud Island frog, and it's an island that's north of the southern island of New Zealand. So it's part of New Zealand. Right here is the location of Maud Island, and the oldest frog in the world, like the actual frog itself, is named Wellington. And the Maud Island frog, Wellington is up to 37 years old right now that they believe, but they can also live easily over 40 years old, okay? They're a smaller frog species, only about 5 centimeters long, so nothing crazy like the Goliath frog we talked about last time. They have unwebbed toes, and they do not give birth to tadpoles. They have froglets that are born, froglets, and so they're born and then they grow up. They are currently threatened. They are currently in a vulnerable status, so not as bad as endangered. It's like one level higher than that, but they're still under threatened status right now. And they've been researched and examined since 1983, and that's how we know that they're like a very long-lived species of frog. It's a very primitive frog species. When you get into a lot of reptiles and amphibians, you can actually have a lot of them that have lived so long, like evolutionary, they're so old, they really haven't changed that much. Like tortoises, for example. Tortoises really fundamentally have not really changed or evolved that much in like millions of years, I think, because like they're the optimal design. I mean, you don't need much more than that, right? So they're evolutionarily very old, and the same thing goes with a lot of frog species and other reptiles like crocodiles as well. But anyway, yeah, they have a very small home range, and this might actually lend to them living as long as they do. They only have a home range of about 30 square meters. So I want you to picture this. These things can live upwards of 40 years, and they spend the vast majority of their lives in a 30 square meter radius. That is it. That is their home. And every 10 years or so, they might expand that by a meter or so, but not very much. So literally, they have this area where they're like, okay, this is my area. This is my home. This is my turf. This is my yard. I'm staying in my yard, and I'm not going beyond that. So about 30 square meters. And every 10 years or so, they're like, all right, maybe we can expand a little bit. So they add maybe an extra meter to their range. And then another 10 years, and they add another meter, okay? But they are homebody frogs, I guess, is the best way to put it, and that might also help them live as long as they do, because they're super, super familiar with their surroundings, and they know where everything is, and where to hide, and where the food is, and everything, and where to avoid, and everything like that. So it works out for them. But anyway, yeah, that's the Maud Island frog, the oldest frog currently alive, 37 years old. So I wish him a happy 40th birthday once he gets there. Thanks for watching, everybody, and, you know, have fun with the Isekai Adventure Season 2!